Supreme Court formally asked to overturn landmark same-sex marriage ruling. All right, let's check this out. Let's see what's going
10
on.
years after the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage across the United States, it could now be overturned. Senior Washington correspondent Devin Dwyer is on the story for us. All right, give us the deal, Devin. Who is actually asking the justices to overturn this?
Well, in recent years, Kira, we've been waiting for a case like this as some of the sentiment in the country has started to shift a little bit, softened rather, against same-sex marriage. There's been a lot of talk about whether the justices would get a chance to reconsider the case. And as you said there, they are getting that opportunity next month. We've learned that Kim Davis, she's that Kentucky clerk from back in 2015 that was at the center of international controversy when she refused to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple in Kentucky in defiance of the Supreme Court. She spent 6 days in jail. She lost a defamation suit. She had to pay $100,000 in damages, $260,000 in legal fees. That's what she's appealing to the Supreme Court. But it's the first time, Kira, that anyone has technically asked the justices explicitly to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which was that landmark ruling. And she does just that. Her counsel in this petition, which was filed last week, says that decision was egregiously wrong. And if that sounds familiar, that's the same type of argument that was made by opponents of abortion when they sought to overturn Roe versus Wade just a few years ago. So a lot of eyes on this petition. It's unclear whether the court will take it up, but certainly a lot on the line.
Well, is there any indication that justices will consider hearing arguments?
A lot of the
This is what I'm concerned about. So, like, the Supreme Court has a very grand disproportionate. They have a lot more Republicans than they do Democrats. They only have 3 Democrats. Shout out to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, by the way. Selfish. Rest in piss. All right. No, but even though there is a vast majority of Republicans in the Supreme Court, they are probably the only government institution. I'm saying this at the risk of sounding very stupid one day. They are probably the only government institution that I will always trust. Obviously, right, they will, when you have Republicans, they might find a way to interpret the law in a way that will produce unfavorable outcomes. But I really do believe that in terms of at least upholding the Constitution, that we can see that. Because I think 3 of them, wait, hold on. How many of them were appointed by Trump? I think only 2 were appointed by Trump. Supreme Court. I just want to make sure I get this right. But I'm pretty sure there's 2 by W.H. Bush, 1 by W. Bush. Membership, 2 by W.H. Bush. No, wait, 2 by George W. Bush. H.W. Bush has 1. Obama has 2. Trump has 3. Okay, and then Biden has 1. So that's 3 Democrats, and then that's 6 Republicans. 3 of which are for Trump, which is very scary. But at the same time, like, I have this hope that the people that were appointed by the Bushes would at the very least have an interest in upholding the Constitution. I know that the Trump ones are compromised. Okay, all right, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and the other one, they're all compromised. Okay, no doubt in my mind that they are compromised. But the other ones, I don't think they are. I think maybe, hopefully, they will do their due diligence in upholding the Constitution. Hopefully. I could totally end up looking really stupid in a few months, but that's kind of the last line of defense here, okay? The House and the Senate are fucked. Obviously, the executive branch is completely fucked from top to bottom. So this is all we got, all right? The legislative and the executive, all we got left is the judicial. We got to hope that the lower courts and the Supreme Court do their job.
the legal experts I've
Oh, thank you, silly but guy, but on kick. Thank you for the follow, buddy.
talked to say there's no chance the Supreme Court will want to wade into this, but you know, the climate that we're in right now, anything can happen. Certainly we are in the midst of a campaign against same-sex marriages across the country. At least 9 states so far have either passed legislation seeking to end those rights or specifically asked the Supreme Court, send resolutions to the Supreme Court asking them to revisit. You saw the Southern Baptist Convention, the nation's largest Protestant Christian group, just last month. They voted to make overturning Obergefell a top priority. So there's a renewed effort by activists in this space to try to get the attention of the Supreme Court. And a lot of them care.
Something else is that, like, they are, you know, they work together. That's another thing, too, that gives me a little bit of hope, is that they work together and, like, they're kind of at the mercy of their peers in terms of, like, being reasonable and being good faith. Like, they work together. They know each other. Like, hopefully there is, like, some kind of, like, good faith interaction between them when discussing and ruling on things like this. And so I deeply hope that there can be a majority rule against this if it ever does come up. But yeah, basically that's all I'm hoping for now. To be fair, I think Trump's got way bigger fish to fry. I think there's other things he cares about more. I don't think he cares too much about the gay, to be honest. Like, I think he'll virtue signal about trans people, like, if it's beneficial for him, because of course it is. It's like a huge, like, social thing. But, like, I think, like, the whole gay marriage thing, like, it's just not really popular anymore. I know there is, like, homophobia actually does seem like it's been on the rise in the last couple of years, but I don't know. My expectation is very low, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that have happened that I never would have expected. So
Here are pointing to comments by Justice Clarence Thomas, the senior conservative, who, after the Dobbs decision, the one that overturned abortion rights in this country, he said in his opinion that he thinks it's time to take a look again at marriage rights. So anything can happen. It's on the table, but most legal experts think that the chances are less likely than not, Kira.
Got it. Devin Dwyer, thank you.
June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the landmark case. Obergefell versus Hodges. Wait, what was the ruling? A 5-4 ruling. Ooh. Well, this was 10 years ago. Ooh. I was hoping that maybe it'd be a little bit better. Does it say who voted for who? Authored the majority opinion, Anthony Kennedy, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Stephen Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Alina Kagan. Retired. You. Why would you retire? You. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he got... Well, actually, it's good. Actually, wait. No, not you. This is the thing that Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have done. Well, actually, I guess... she died. Didn't she die before Biden could get elected? So... Selfish. She should have retired sooner, dude. She should have retired while Obama was still in office. Whatever. Stephen Breyer, thanks, buddy. Thank you for retiring and let another Democrat come in. The majority held that the state same-sex marriage bans are a violation of the 14th Amendment's due process and equal protection clauses. Davis contacted Beshar asking for an executive order to protect clerks who have moral objections against personally issuing such marriage license. Okay, so this is actually really similar to the whole wedding cake thing. There was like this big gay marriage wedding cake. This is like a very similar thing. Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Communion. Basically, there was this question of whether or not it's discrimination for, like, if you're a private business, you have the right to refuse service to anybody, right? But do you have the right to refuse service to somebody purely based on their identity? And it's tough because if you are a Christian and you believe that gay marriage is wrong and is like a sin, and maybe you feel like participating in the creation of the cake is is engaging with that might be really bad. And like, I can see the argument for that, but the problem is with stuff like this is if you make it acceptable to refuse somebody's service not based on ideology or behavior, but rather like just like a very like what's an immutable character, right? Like something you can't control, like being gay or being black. Like if you permit that to happen in America, basically what you're doing is you're just allowing anyone to discriminate against anybody. In a 7-2 decision, the court ruled that the commission did not employ religious neutrality, violating Masterpiece owner Jack Phillips' rights to free exercise, and reversed the commission's decision. The court did not rule on the broader intersection of anti-discrimination laws, free exercise of religion, and freedom of speech due to the complications of commissioner's lack of religious neutrality. Yeah, so I guess following the appeals within the state, the commission's decision against the bakery was affirmed, so the bakery took the case to the Supreme Court. Yeah, so they found that this was allowed, which I don't know. I wonder. I guess I would have to look into this more. I'm curious because regardless, like my point stands, but I do wonder about if they were able to look into it from a religious perspective and like analyze that it is a justifiable belief within the religion. Like you can definitively point to like the religion and say, yeah, this is why it's wrong, right? But yeah, this seems very similar. But the difference here is that that's a private business where you're allowed to make your own decisions, as opposed to Kim Davis here, who is a marriage clerk and doesn't want to, like, that's like, you're a government employee, are you not? Protect clerks who have moral objectifications against personally issuing such marriage license. As Kentucky law requires county clerks to issue marriage licenses in their name. Yeah, a county clerk would be a government employee, correct? She began turning away gay couples from her county office who were seeking marriage license. So that's probably the difference with the Masterpiece Cakes thing. There is hey Alex, what's up? There's like at least a claim to, I'm operating my own business and I have the right to refuse service, but you can't. But when you're working for the government and you're refusing to service people with, you know, a service that is related to the government, I guess, you can't do that. You're basically preventing people from exercising their rights. Like, it's not your right to buy a cake, so that's why Masterpiece Cakes won. But it is your right to get married if the Supreme Court decides that it is, or if it is within the Constitution or the laws that you are allowed to get married, and a clerk wouldn't be allowed to just say, well, you're gay, so no. But I guess now she's back. She got lawsuits, it looks like. Were these civil suits? 6 couples who were denied marriage licenses from Davis sued her in her official capacity as county clerk. 4 couples were represented by American Civil Liberties Union of Kentucky, and 2 couples each had separate legal representation. The 4 couples represented by the ACLU, 2 same-sex couples, and 2 opposite-sex couples. Filed the lawsuit against Davis on July 2nd, 2015. Contempt of court and jailing. Judge Bunning ordered Davis and her 6 deputy clerks to appear before him on September 3rd after the 6 couples sought to have her held in contempt of court. Bunning ruled in the plaintiff's favor and held Davis in contempt of court due to her refusal to not interfere with her deputies issuing marriage licenses for gay couples. Speaking on Davis's behalf, her attorney said Davis would not make any representation that she would allow marriage licenses to be issued, thus not accepting the compromise that would have led to her release. The ACLU asked the court to fine Davis, but Bunning ordered her remanded in custody after the hearing. The judge said Davis would remain there until she compiled. I can't read right now. Holy Jesus. The judge said Davis would remain there until she complied with the court's order to issue marriage license. Bunning then spoke with each of the deputy clerks who reported to Davis. Only her son, Nathan Davis, told the judge he refused to comply with the court's order to start issuing marriage license. Jesus. Release and return to work. So was she able to go back and like do the marriages? While Davis remained inside her personal office, same-sex couples successfully walked out of their own county clerk's office with their marriage licenses. One of the applicants said, "My license is valid, and it's valid because of the court's order, and that's in effect. It doesn't have to have her signature." Okay, so I guess, is that what they let her keep her job, and we're like, okay, we just won't have you go to the gay couples, I guess? And like, she's like, all right, that's fine. Right? Is that correct? I don't know. It's appealing a $100,000 jury verdict for emotional damage plus $260 for attorney's fees. This probably isn't going anywhere, I'd imagine, because this is just some crazy retard that's mad because she was like homophobic. Also, I'm sorry, like whenever somebody says they don't support gay marriage for like religious reasons, I don't really believe them. Because it seems to be such like a one of the like most important things for so many people is like being against gay marriage and being against homosexuality, and it's just like, this is like such a small part of your religion, especially considering that like your religion is supposed to, like, Jesus hung out with prostitutes and Jesus would have been friends with gay people. Like, he wouldn't have, like, treated them like shit or been against them being together necessarily, I don't think. But, yeah, like, in terms of, it's just very weird. It takes up so much of their minds, but, like, it's such a small part of their religion. I don't buy it when they say, like, oh, it's my religious beliefs to be against gay marriage. In a petition for a writ of, what the hell is this word? Certiorari? I do not know what the that word is. Why do we always use, is this a Latin word? Do we always use, like, Latin words all the time for everything? I don't get it. We're always using, like, Latin words. I hate it. A writ or order by which a higher court reviews a decision of a lower court.
Certiorari.
Certiorari. That. What a stupid word. That's definitely Latin then, right? Certiorari? I don't even know. It doesn't even say. It doesn't even say. Okay, cool. I guess it's just it's an American word. It's the American language. Hey, Hina, what's up? Jesus was gay. He hung out and slept with like 8 or so dudes for years. He had a harem of dudes following him. Did he really? Good for him. Gross, but good for him. She claims the High Court's decision in Obergefell versus Hodges, extending marriage rights for same-sex couples under the 14th Amendment due process protections, was egregiously wrong. Mistake must be corrected. Wait, so it was based under the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment, is that the naturalized citizens, right? Same thing. Like anyone within the jurisdiction of America, blah, 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 blah. Or what is it? Citizenship, equal protection under the law. Yep. Basically, that's basically what I was saying, just like with some extra words. Because I know that repeal... Did that repeal... the 3/5 Act? Like that, right? Like that's part of the lore that the 3/5 Act was gone with the 14th Amendment. Equal protection clause. The due process clause is guaranteed really by the due process clause. The life, liberty, and property. Okay. I'm actually very curious to look into this sometime. Maybe we'll do it on stream. Who knows? Not a single judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals showed any interest in Davis's rehearing petition, and we are confident the Supreme Court will likewise agree that Davis's arguments do not merit further attention, said William Powell, attorney for David Ermold and David Moore, the now married Kentucky couple that sued Davis for damages, in a statement to NBC News. Davis's appeal to the Supreme Court comes as conservative opponents of marriage rights for same-sex couples pursue a renewed campaign to reverse a legal precedent and allow each state to set its own policy. Oh, God. This is basically what it is. Okay, this is basically what they do. Because they did this with abortion, too. Trump did this with abortion, too, right? He was like, oh, concealed carry, that shouldn't be a state's issue. That should be a federal law. Like, it should be federally enforced that everyone can concealed carry, right? But then it's like abortion, well, I think send it to the states. I think the states should decide. It's like, what, like, why is one more important than the other? Either like I just don't get it. At least give me a good explanation. And this is what they're doing now. Any that they want gone, they just say, well, let's send it to the states. The states should decide first. So then they can start ripping it out of certain states. Like, obviously there's something like Oklahoma and stuff like this. Like, they're going to like get rid of gay marriage immediately. And then from there, they're in a much better position to federally get rid of it, right? It's just because it's the best they can do. They can't just federally be like Donald Trump could never get away with that. He couldn't be like, executive order, gay marriage is illegal. You get shot in the head if you do it. Like he couldn't get away with that. So they start slow. That's what they do. They start slow. Send it to the states. It's a states issue. Let the states decide. Like, it's dumb. I personally feel like certain things are just federal rights, right? They're just federal rights. Yeah, I don't buy this at all. This is, or well, maybe that's what they say, but that's just the first step, right? It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So far in 2025, at least 9 states have either introduced legislation aimed at blocking new marriage licenses for LGBT people or passed resolutions urging the Supreme Court to reverse Obergefell. I'm definitely not pronouncing this right. I probably sound like a idiot reading this. Hold on. Hello? Where's the little Google thing where it's like... Is this going to be an Indian?
Name of this landmark civil rights case in which the summary is by the 14th Constitution. How do you go about pronouncing this name? Obergefell. You do.
Obergefell. I was not even close. Obergefell. That's an ass name, dude. Thank God that's not my name. Holy, that's rough. Obergefell. So far in 2025, at least 9 states have either introduced legislation aimed at blocking new marriage licenses for LGBTQ people or passed resolutions urging the Supreme Court to reverse Obergefell at the earliest opportunity, according to the advocacy group Lambda Legal. In June, the Southern Baptist Convention, the nation's largest Protestant Christian denomination, overwhelmingly voted to make overturning of laws and court rulings, including Obergefell and versus Hodge, that defied God's design for marriage and family, a top priority. Yeah, this is a top priority. I feel like there's so many issues that manifest in the world that Christians, like a real Christian, would be like, this is so bad. Like, people are dying in Ukraine, people are dying in Gaza, they're starving in Gaza, right? This is like, there's all this bad going on in the world. There's all these people living in such horrible conditions in Mexico. They're fleeing to America to escape like this horrible economy, and their entire government is like hand in hand with the cartels and they're just like, no, top priority is dudes putting their penises in other dudes' butts. We need to get that under control right now, okay? We need to get those penises out of those butts. That's basically what they're saying. Yeah, well, this hopefully won't go anywhere. You know, like I said, I have some faith in the Supreme Court that they wouldn't overrule a decision they made 10 years ago. And also I feel like they are the most knowledgeable about the Constitution, obviously, and how the law works. And, you know, at least would want to uphold it. And, you know, at least I know 3 of them are compromised, but maybe the other 3 Republicans aren't. I don't know. Maybe I'm coping, but that's basically all I can really do at this point is just cope and hope that that's not going to happen. But I guess we'll see.